Welcome back to Marginal Thoughts, everyone.
Great to be talking about this today.
So, have you ever felt that building wealth is just like incredibly slow? Like you're pushing this huge boulder uphill, putting in all the effort, saving, maybe trying to invest a bit.
And it just feels like you're barely moving.
Exactly. It feels like it'll take forever to get anywhere meaningful.
Yeah, that's a super common feeling, especially at the start. But what if I told you there's like a tipping point, a moment where that boulder kind of crests the hill?
And suddenly it starts rolling downhill almost by itself, picking up speed.
Precisely. And for a lot of people, that key point, that first really big milestone, is hitting your first $100,000 in net worth.
Okay, so today we're going to get into why hitting that number can totally change the game for building wealth.
Yeah. And this isn't about, get rich quick schemes or anything. It's about understanding how wealth actually builds over time. We'll look at why $100 is such a turning point.
And importantly, we'll talk about some practical ways you can maybe get there a bit faster, even if you're starting from scratch right now.
So yeah, that first $100,000, you hear it all the time, don't you? People say it's the hardest part.
Definitely. It can feel like a real grind, a slog.
It absolutely can be. Because in that phase, it really is mostly about your direct effort. Saving hard, watching spending. It feels like you're doing all the heavy lifting.
But then you hit that six-figure mark, and something changes, right? It's like you've reached, what, critical mass?
Critical mass is a great way to put it. Or think back to that snowball analogy we mentioned.
Yeah, the snowball.
When it's tiny, rolling it picks up a little snow, but it doesn't grow very fast. Getting it started is the tough part.
But as it gets bigger,
each rotation picks up way more snow. Its own size starts accelerating its growth. That's kind of what happens with your money once you hit that $100 K base.
Okay, and that leads perfectly into the first big reason why $100 K is such a game changer. It's all about compounding, isn't it?
Yes. Compounding. It sounds fancy, maybe, but it's actually simple. It just means earning returns not only on your initial money, but also on the returns you've already earned.
So your money makes money.
And then that money starts making more money. It builds on itself.
Right. And there's that quick rule people mentioned, the rule of 72, helps kind of visualize it.
Exactly. The rule of 72. It's just a rough estimate, but it's useful. You divide 72 by your expected annual interest rate, and that tells you approximately how many years it'll take for your money to double.
So like if you're hoping for a 10% average return, 72 divided by 10, that's about 7.2 years to double.
Roughly, yeah. Now think about how the starting amount changes things, even with the same rate.
Okay, so let's say someone starts with $10,000. At 10%, it takes 7.2 years to double to $20,000. So they gain $10,000.
Right. Now someone else starts with $100,000, same 10% return, same 7.2 years.
Yeah.
It doubles to $200,000.
Whoa. Okay, so they gained $100,000 in the same time period.
See the difference? Same percentage growth, but a 10 times bigger dollar gain because the starting pot was 10 times bigger. And it doesn't stop there. It speeds up.
Right, because in the next 7.2 years, the first person's $20 K becomes $40K, a $20,000 gain this time.
But the second person's $200K becomes $400K. That's a $200,000 gain in that second period.
Okay, I see it now. The gains themselves get bigger each time because the base is bigger.
That's the core of it. When you start small, the dollar returns from compounding don't feel that impressive yet. But once you cross $100,000, those returns really start adding significant fuel to your net worth.
So it shifts. Like at the start, maybe 90% of your growth comes from your own savings.
Yeah, your contributions are the main engine.
But later, once you have that $100 K or more, the investment growth starts doing more and more of the work. Eventually, it can even add more each year than you're saving yourself.
That's the point where it really feels like it's taking off. Many wealthy people find that the bulk of their fortune eventually came from that growth, not just the initial savings.
It's powerful stuff. But, and this is key, it takes time, right? Patience is critical.
Absolutely critical. That's why that first $100K feels slow. You're building the foundation for that compounding engine to really roar later on.
Okay, so reason number 2, why hitting $100 K matters so much. You mentioned capital scales efficiently. What does that mean exactly?
Right. So think about investing, particularly passively, like in broad market index funds.
Okay.
Putting, say, $100,000 into an index fund. It basically takes the same amount of effort as putting in $1,000.
Huh. Yeah, I guess it does. Same online account, same few clicks to buy the fund.
Exactly. The research, the admin, opening the account, It's pretty much the same workload, whether you're investing a small amount or a much larger amount.
Okay, get that. But how does that compare to other things?
Well, contrast that with trying to, say, double the size of a small business you run on the side.
Oh, yeah, that would be way more work. More hours, maybe hiring people, dealing with more customers, more complexity.
Tons more effort, right. So with investing, especially passive investing, the effort you put in stays pretty flat. But the amount of capital working for you is way bigger once you cross $100K.
So the return you get for that same relatively small effort becomes much, much larger in dollar terms.
Precisely. Your money starts working for you in a really leveraged way, demanding less of your personal time and energy compared to actively scaling up a business, for instance.
Makes sense. Beyond the numbers, though, there are other big benefits, right? Like psychologically.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
The psychological shift is massive alongside the practical benefits.
Like what? Peace of mind.
Definitely peace of mind. That's probably the first thing people notice. Having a $100,000 cushion just changes how you feel about everyday life and unexpected costs.
Yeah, like a surprise car repair bill isn't a total disaster anymore. Or if you had a temporary job loss.
Exactly. It provides a significant buffer. You're not living paycheck to paycheck, worried about every little bump in the road. And that security feeds into how you handle investments, too. Well, think about market downturns. When the stock market drops, someone with very little savings might panic. They might feel forced to sell their investments at a loss because they suddenly need cash.
Right, they sell low because they have no choice.
But if you have that $100K cushion, maybe in safer assets or cash, you often don't need to sell your stocks when they're down. You can afford to be patient, ride out the storm, and wait for the recovery.
That ability to just wait is a huge advantage in investing.
It really is. And as your wealth grows beyond that, maybe you start feeling comfortable exploring slightly different investment types, maybe taking a tiny bit more calculated risk because you have that safety net.
And doors might open to other things later on, like maybe different investment classes or better borrowing terms.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Though things like accredited investor status are usually further down the line. But the feeling changes much sooner.
What about just the feeling of accomplishment?
That's the psychological momentum. Hitting $100K is proof. It proves to yourself that you can do this. You can build wealth. It breaks down those limiting beliefs many of us have.
Like, I'm not good with money, or rich people are different.
Exactly. It creates this positive feedback loop. You see the money growing, you experience compounding working for you, and it motivates you to keep going, to save and invest even more consistently.
It feels less like pushing the boulder uphill and more like guiding it downhill.
Perfectly put.
Yeah.
And this often leads to what some people call an accumulation mindset.
Meaning
You start seeing money differently, not just as something to spend, but as a tool, a resource to build security and freedom.
Yeah.
Get excited about putting it to work.
you don't want to just let cash sit around doing nothing in a checking account because you know it could be growing.
Right. You understand the opportunity cost. You want to feed that compounding engine you've worked so hard to build.
Okay, so we've established $100K is a really powerful milestone. But for beginners listening, someone maybe at zero or with just a little saved, how do they actually get there faster? Because that early part is all about their actions, right?
Totally. In the early days, before compounding really kicks into high gear, your contributions are the main driver. So yeah, let's talk strategies.
Strategy 1, earn more. Play offense.
Absolutely. Increasing your income is often the fastest way to free up more cash for saving and investing.
So things like working on skills to get promotions or raises, maybe switching jobs for a pay bump.
Yes, be proactive about your career. And don't dismiss side hustles or freelancing if you have skills you could monetize. Even an extra few $100s a month consistently invested makes a huge difference early on.
Okay, so earn more. Strategy 2, spend less, play defense.
Play good defense, exactly. But be smart about it. First step is just knowing where your money goes. So tracking expenses, maybe making a simple budget.
Find the leaks.
Find the leaks and focus on the big hitters. Housing, transport, food, small tweaks there often save more than cutting out every single coffee, you know.
Right, the 80-20 rule. Focus where it counts.
And critically, try to resist lifestyle inflation. As your income goes up, try to save and invest a good chunk of that raise rather than just spending it all.
Got it. Strategy 3, automation.
Yes. Make it easy on yourself. Take willpower out of the equation as much as possible.
Like setting up automatic transfers on payday.
Exactly. Transfer money automatically to your savings and investment accounts the day you get paid. Pay yourself first. Automate bill payments too, so you don't miss them and get hit with fees.
Makes saving effortless almost. Okay, strategy 4, deal with debt.
High interest debt, specifically. This is crucial. Things like credit cards, some personal loans. They're like compounding working against you.
Eating away at your progress.
Faster than your investments can grow, often. So you need to tackle that aggressively. Focus on paying down the debts with the highest interest rates first.
Think of it like a guaranteed return.
It is. Paying off a 20% interest credit card is like getting a guaranteed, risk-free 20% return on that money. You absolutely need to get out of that kind of debt before your investments can really take flight.
Okay, last one, strategy 5. Tax efficiency.
Yeah, try to keep more of the money you earn and the returns you make. Use tax-advantaged accounts.
Like 401ks here in the US or IRAs or ISAs in the UK.
Whatever is available where you live. Contributions can often lower your taxable income, and the growth is tax-deferred or tax-free. And if your employer offers a match,
Take it, it's free money.
it's free money. Always contribute at least enough to get the full employer match. That's an instant, huge return.
So underlying all this is consistency, patience.
Discipline, patience, consistency. Focus on building that initial base. Keep the investing simple, low-cost, diversified funds are great for beginners. And maybe think about saving a percentage of your income, not just a fixed amount, so your savings grow as your pay does.
Okay, so let's kind of wrap this up. Getting to that first $100,000, it definitely takes work, focus, being intentional.
It really does. It's a major milestone for a good reason.
But once you manage to cross that line, the whole nature of building wealth really does shift, doesn't it?
It shifts significantly. Your money starts pulling more weight through compounding, and your efforts in investing become much more efficient.
And the habits you build getting there, the saving, the investing, the discipline, those are the things that really set you up for much faster growth later on. You've basically built and started the engine.
Yeah, you built the engine, and you've given it that first big push over the hill.
So the takeaway really is that first $100 K often feels like the hardest mountain to climb, but reaching the summit unlocks these really powerful forces, compounding, efficiency, that make the rest of the journey potentially much faster and easier.
And it absolutely is achievable for most people with the right strategies and enough time and patience.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. We talked about how hitting $100 K can eventually lead to your investments earning more than your job does each year. What could your life actually look like if you made reaching that $100,000 mark a really intense focus for the next few years?
Interesting question. Where are you on your journey? Are you aiming for that first $100 K? What strategies are working for you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And if you found this conversation useful, please do subscribe to Marginal Thoughts for more discussions like this one.
Thanks for tuning in today.